Peterson's Farms family, we got a great guest today. And the facts are, I don't know a lot about Paul. And that's going to be the fun exploration for me and for you to get to join in, since we're going to talk about what he's all about. In his email address, the word advocate is in there. So that's interesting to me, what an advocate is and what their responsibilities are. So welcome to the show, Paul Newnham.
Yes, great to be here. It's a real pleasure and super excited to be at the championships at the moment and really feeling the energy around us, but great to be able to talk to you and tell you a little bit about what we do.
You bet. Well, and we were laughing about it a little bit before we hit the record button, that it's kind of like we get to have our own private conversation because you get the headphones on, and you're talking into these mics, and it's wild around here.
It
is
is
loud. We're by the main stage.
I know.
So the World Food Championship is a great thing, so high five to them. Anybody that's not familiar with it, check it out. Google the World Food Championship. It is the ultimate food fight.
Yes, absolutely. Sport for food.
Yeah, food sport.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's a really unique, cool thing that I only got involved with a couple years ago. We sponsored the bacon category, and I got to be a judge. Well, now I'm back again this year. We're getting to talk to cool people.
It's amazing.
I guess the first thing that comes to my mind in just a quick study of you is beans. So talk to me, what do you advocate for?
Yeah, so my role is unique. I work with the United Nations, with private sector companies like yourselves, and also civil society organizations around the world. So we work globally, and we're really looking at sustainability issues. We're looking about how do we help people, planet, and prosperity. And as part of that, last year we started a new campaign, I guess, around beans, peas, and lentils, and getting people to eat more. And it's called Beans is How. And so I'm the chief bean officer for Beans is How. It sounds kind of crazy, but essentially we're encouraging people to think about beans in a different way. No matter where I go in the world, I see amazing bean dishes. There's bean barbecue, sides for barbecue here in Texas.
No beans in Chile, though.
No.
That's a big debate, isn't it?
I know. And then you go across the border, you've got beans down in Mexico. You've got beans in all different parts of the world. And beans are amazing because they're really good for you. So from a health perspective, they might give you a bit of gas, and I know that comes up.
Oh, yeah, that's the favorite joke of all the 3-year-olds,
Exactly. But what that is it's the fermentation in your microbiome. It's your gut being healthy, and it's giving off some gas, which is a little bit of a way of you understanding of how healthy it is. But we're promoting beans. They're good for the soil. They're a great crop rotation, so you plant them in between. They help put back into the soil nitrogen. They help improve water efficiency in the soil, a lot of other things, but they're also highly nutritious, and they're also affordable. And at the moment we're all feeling the pinch, and beans are a great way to substitute diets, to add into meals, to build into different kinds of cooking, and really be able to do that in an affordable way with all these other benefits. And so we're trying to get people to eat more beans, and that is interesting because people often, when they think about beans, they think about this thing that you kind of have a little bit of, maybe at breakfast or depending on what culture you're from. But they don't think about it as a diverse ingredient that has lots of varieties, that can be cooked in different ways and be really heroed in dishes.
Yeah. I'm thinking in my mind, do you eat meat?
I do. I am what you would call a flexitarian. So yeah. I grew up in Australia eating, lamb chops and 3 veg. That was the standard. Sausages, the works. Yeah. And all the plate would always be around animal proteins. And as I've gone on in life, I've kind of become a bit more of a flexitarian. So now I'll eat a lot of, I eat everything, but I just eat different proportions. So I've just shifted. I don't eat it as often. I eat higher quality. I eat more plant-based kind of ingredients. But I'm all over the place. Sure. So my kids eat everything. So we're always cooking different dishes. And I've just found that the more I've leaned into certain ingredients, the more I've actually discovered interest, diversity, and that's changed my kind of taste. And so I don't believe anyone should be one or the other. I think we need a diversity of solutions.
Yeah.
And I think it's about quality. It's about farming practice. But I also think it's about looking at sustainability of the future and thinking about how do we ensure that we can go on, family businesses can go on for a long time and get the value that they need.
Yeah.
And so I think there's lots of interesting messages in that. But thinking about, eating a lot of different things, some people go, nah, I don't want that, especially in the country I'm from, Australia's massive cattle country as well. And I go, no problem. Like, it's not about saying no. It's about saying, how do you diversify your diet? How are you getting all the things you need? And so for me, it's about, looking at that.
Absolutely. And I battle this in a podcast. I battle what am I going to say, especially since Peterson's is an animal protein company. Like we're bacon, sausage, ham. But I'm not here to say vegetarian's bad, flexitarian's bad. Actually, you're a brilliant, awesome human being. You eat the way you eat.
I eat the way, yeah.
I might eat carnivore. I don't.
Yeah.
But I have before. I've like nothing but red meat, because I want to explore. I guess it is a little bit shame on me because I've never actually gone vegan, so I can't say I've experienced that. I think the listeners need to hear and understand our company in the way that we do this, but we're not here to diminish others or to say your thought process if you are vegetarian or vegan. If that works for you, great. This is what we do, and we try to do it the very best we can.
I think it's great. To me, one of the things, a friend of mine, she often says, there's no heroes and there's no villains. But people like that. People like picking sides. They like arguing about and saying, and they go, you're either going to be, if you like plants, you're vegan. Well, no.
Yeah.
I eat eggs, I eat cheese, no problem. I have a lot of plants, and I also occasionally will eat some really good quality meat and enjoy a good steak. It's about balance. A lot of the world is in that same spot.
Sure.
It's
like politics.
You said carnivore. There's very few people that only eat meat.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? They'll probably eat meat and maybe one other thing.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe bread. I don't know.
Well, yeah. That's the danger of social media, I think. It's part of why I like the long-form conversation here, because you're seeing just little bits of people's lives, and they can make them look about any way they want. So they're showing you eating meat, and next thing you know, they're in there eating pizza.
Exactly.
It's like, what's the truth?
Yeah.
I think it's a good thought process. I like trying those things. I kind of almost like the discipline of it a little bit more than even the reality of it.
Yeah.
You mentioned microbiome. I think that's a really important thing for everybody to think about. Like, you want to keep your gut healthy.
Exactly.
Whatever that requires for you. Do you think some humans need different things, or is the gut a kind of consistent, straightforward thing that if you'll just do you're going to have a healthy gut?
So I'm not an expert in people's microbiome, but I have got a number of partners that we work with that are nutritionists that are experts. And what they tell me is that in order for you to have gut health, you need fiber.
Yeah.
And you can get fiber in a range of ways. Beans are a great way. So are whole grains. Certain fruits and vegetables, they will give you fiber. So one of the challenges in a lot of diets is a lack of fiber. And fiber is what the biome works on. It's like the base. It's like the soil for a field.
For your gut.
And so if you don't have that, you're going to have issues. So sweet potatoes, beans, these kinds of things are great. They enable your microbiome to be fed. If you don't have them, you have to take additives. You have to have like shots of this or shots of that. Yeah. Not whiskey. Shots of other things.
What do they call it? Kombucha.
Kombucha and stuff like this. And that's a probiotic. That's replacing what doesn't exist.
Yeah.
A prebiotic is enabling a space for it to grow. It's like lining the house. It's like putting a mattress down on the ground so that the biome can breed in your body.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what's key. And I think, one of the things that we all get very obsessed about protein, and protein is important for muscle growth. It's really important. the majority of Americans don't have a protein problem. They get enough.
Yeah.
It's not to say that it's not enjoyable. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying don't be so stressed about protein. Be more stressed about fiber. And a lot of the nutritionists and top advisors would say fiber is key for overall health.
Yeah.
And also energy and all these things. So you need to have a balance. And I think for me, when you look at food, it's about really trying to think, how do you help people think about it in different ways? How do you keep it exciting and interesting? And I mean, we're here at a food event where people are walking around watching other people cook things.
Yeah.
And so food is so much more than just what we actually eat. It's not just like a tablet we have to take every day. It's also about the experience. It's about the culture.
100%.
So if you live on a farm and you raise animals, you're going to eat a lot of animals because you should, because you're there.
Right.
If you're in a city somewhere that doesn't have a lot of animals, you probably eat less.
Well, you just don't have the experience, the relationship, the opinion. I think opinions, what do they come from? Well, our experiences.
Exactly.
I've raised an animal. I've killed an animal. I've ate that animal. So, that's an experience I've had with it. So it's just so different from what somebody else may have had. Where I can't particularly understand not knowing those things.
And I know, like you talk, I've lived in different parts of the world, and you've talked with farmers who are cattle herders in the north of Kenya, and they don't carry around refrigerators. They have animals that are alive, and they kill them, and they eat them when they need to, and they trade them, and they use them as a source of wealth.
They highly respect them.
It's wealth.
Yeah.
And, they're not going to the ATM. Their animals are breeding, and they're, working as cattle herders, and they've done that for generations. So when you look at a tribe like that, you have to think very differently about what are you telling them? How are you advising them? And what can they teach you?
Sure.
And what can you teach them? And it's about two-way exchange. So to me, I think, when I look at food and when we do advocacy, we try and understand that there's not one size that fits all. There's lots of different perspectives. Culture is really important, and space and place.
Yeah.
So it's really important to acknowledge, where do people come from? Where are they at? What are the needs there? But there is also science, and science is helpful for helping us make decisions. And it tells us a little bit about this could be done this way and it could have less impact, or this could be done this way and it will help you thrive more. And that's really, everyone can debate it to a point, but there's a kind of way of understanding that you can get into and go, okay, how does this help me make decisions?
Yeah, I think I really empathize or feel strongly about how confusing it can be.
Yeah, I
mean, this doctor, brilliant scientist says X, don't eat any meat. This doctor, brilliant scientist says eat only meat. It's kind of like, that's why I think it's a great practice to have such a diverse conversation on the podcast, within our brand, within our company. It's like, we've got several people that don't eat meat that work for Peterson's, and that's their journey, that's their life. I mean, it's just, if you're listening, I encourage you, I challenge you to allow that you don't know, and whoever you're listening to may not know either. It's like,
I think we
figure it out yourself, live life, enjoy the journey of testing things.
I mean, we also run a chef network in 90 countries around the world. It's called the Chef's Manifesto, and it's connected to sustainability. But we say we should respect, livestock in the right way. So it's about how you less and better meat. So we sort of say, look after it, value it, better for the land, the practices.
Yeah.
So we're saying be discerning, I guess, in the way that you're understanding where you source from, what products you use, to think that through. And then at the same time, we're also saying we want a focus on certain ingredients that haven't had a focus.
Yeah.
And so it's about helping hero them, get people to understand them in different ways. And I think that's key as well. So I think for me, those things are both open. They're not closed. They're not saying this way or that way. It's saying there's lots of perspectives in the room, lots of ways of working. And So, I mean, to me, it's great that you guys are open to those conversations because often in a meat company, people aren't. They're like...
Well, they're scared. They're scared. They
of the
lose
conversation.
market share. They're scared. Everybody may decide to quit eating meat. I mean, I'm in a boardroom scenario. We've got some consultants in. They're from Europe. They're telling us...
This is changing,
Yeah. Or even just really diving deep into our business. How do we get better? How do we really sustain our business into the future financially and from a lot of perspectives? And they said, well, everybody knows that animals are bad for the planet. And I said, everybody? No, that can't be true. I don't think that. I mean, so it's like, is it the schools? Is it where is the education coming from? You got to ask yourself that sometimes. How am I learning this? Why did I learn that? Who told me that? Did my farmer tell me that? Who raises animals? It could be true. I'm not saying I know for sure it's not true. I'm just saying in my experience, in my opinion, I've seen animals do great things for me, for our land, all those things. Anyways, we've dove off into that. That's a fun conversation for me because I really love it. But I want to say, what is a pulse?
A pulse?
I think I didn't really know what pulses were. It kind of surprised me to see the word years ago when I first saw it. So in case somebody is like me and listening.
So pulses are the dry form of a leguminous plant. So they're beans, peas, and lentils. So pulses,
all beans are pulses?
All beans are pulses.
Okay. See, I didn't even know that. I thought there were beans and then pulses.
No. So pulses is the big term.
Okay.
And then legumes are the plant that grows pulses. But peanuts are a legume. So this is where you go and start getting confused.
That's right.
But not all nuts are legumes.
There we go. Not a pecan.
Nope.
You know.
So a nut is different. But pulses. And so when you look at them, one of the benefits of them is that they grow into the soil and they actually fix nitrogen. So they have a bacteria which connects with the root of the plant in such a way that it actually puts nitrogen back in the field. And so they're used for lots of animal grazing in many parts of the world.
And that's what everybody's looking for is that's what they'll be fertilizing their fields with is nitrogen or manure that's got high content.
Whereas if you plant beans, peas, and lentils, you're going to get that in there.
You won't have to do that as much.
You don't have to do it as much. So it's better for the soil. It's capturing that there. And especially because animals don't rip the roots necessarily. They eat the top. Yeah. The roots then leave the carbon in the soil. So it's a better way of actually... And this is like on regenerative agriculture.
Yes.
A lot of people talk about animals trampling the soil, which lets the air and the... So there's different ways. So I think, it circles back to that conversation around the impact. It all comes down to the way you farm. There's so many different ways you can farm. And if you've got feedlots and that's the only way, it's going to have this impact. If you're going to do grazing on bigger farmland, it's going to have this. If you're feeding this way, it's going to have this. So that's why there's no one size fits all. And I think that's why people get confused. Yeah. They go with the lowest common denominator and then they give that as the number for the whole thing rather than actually acknowledging the differences.
Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking it's brilliant talking to you because you have you work internationally. I work in Texas, and around the U.S., but I don't have that experience of being all around the world and seeing and talking to those other cultures and this kind of stuff. So it's like a great insight into the rest of the world a little bit, what you're sharing. So thank you so much for that. Is there anything about food and where it comes from, maybe not even beans, it doesn't have to stay on that topic, that you think you wish people knew a little more about, or you feel like we're disconnected from? Like you mentioned urban areas. I find a lot of times you could go and find 9 out of 10 people think food comes from the grocery store. Yeah. Like they just don't have the experience or insight. They're just ignorant. Anything like that comes to your mind?
Yeah, when you look at the global food production, so the majority of food in the world comes from smallholder farmers. So these are people that are maybe families that own small plots of land and they're farming them for subsistence and also for income. Yeah. There is big farms in the world, very big farms. My country's got some of the biggest in the world. And they contribute to the agricultural output, the food that we eat, but a lot of it comes from these small farms. And many of them are they're business people.
Sure.
They're trying to make a living, and so they're super keen to respond to what's needed. But they're also given lots of responsibility, and I think sometimes that responsibility is unfair, where they're expected to solve all the world's problems. I think what we have to do is help them to make informed decisions, investments, to be able to then improve the way they're farming. They want to do that. It's more profitable, it's better, more sustainable, and so that they can then be helping to actually make those shifts and those changes. And I think this is about diversity as well. So for me, when we say diversity, it means different things to different people. When you think about food, it's about having different things growing in different places and us having variety to eat.
Yeah.
This would be super boring if it was one ingredient.
Sure.
So you'd be walking around going, we've got one ingredient and he did it that way or she did it that way. Whereas at least we've got categories, we've got depth. There's 30,000 ingredients that are edible around the world. The majority of our diets only touch on 150, and there's 5 that make up 60% of all the calories we have.
Wow.
And none of them are animal proteins.
Yeah.
So
what are those 5?
So
Can you name them?
Yeah, you guess. Yeah, let's go. Let's
the 5.
competition.
Well, you already helped me. They aren't animal proteins. So, see, I would have said beef. Or I'd actually said pork because pork's the number one.
But I'm saying calories, remember.
Okay, calories.
So that you get calories from beef, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me guess. Pulses.
Nope.
I'm trying to think of what I eat. Dairy.
Nope.
Kale.
Nope. Okay, so you got wheat.
Oh.
Corn. What else?
Soy.
Potatoes.
Yeah.
And not in this part of the world eaten as much. Some in Mexico. India eats a lot of it.
I don't know.
China, rice.
Oh, rice. There we go.
So they're the 5.
So grains.
So they're their grains. And they're grown en masse around the world. They store well.
Yeah.
They transport well.
Yeah.
And as the world's tried to feed itself, they've gone up huge in where you get them around the world. And so what that means is the system is a bit unstable. Because if you've got 5 things and something happens,
to one of them,
you get a disease into it, the weather shifts, what happens? You lose a big chunk of food. So this is the challenge of our food system, is how do we get a more biodiverse system? This is even within species. So if you just have one type of cow, what's going to happen? Diseases, things can build up. What if somebody doesn't want that cow that year?
Right.
Or that pig or whatever?
Yeah.
So you need diversity. You need to have a few varieties. You need to think about people crossbreed. They do things to get more resilience, more
marbling,
marbling, all these
lean
things.
meat,
Yeah.
all these different things.
So within species, people do all that. You got to do it across species as well. And so it's like a lot of farms will have a bit of diversity, so that if something goes wrong, you get something else.
Backup. Yeah, it's almost like Plan B, C, D, and E. You know.
So that's farming. I mean, for me, that's the thing when people have to think about that. And the other thing is, I think people don't really understand how food has an impact on our health.
Yeah.
So if people see food
I think people could get off medicine if they eat the right stuff.
They do. I mean, medicine is treating issues as a result of eating the wrong food.
Yeah. I was watching this clip with a guy named Dana White. Do you know who that is? He's the guy that founded the UFC.
Okay.
He said something like, I will never go see another doctor in my life for any, like, general health stuff. It's about my diet.
Yeah.
You know, I can totally take care of myself with my diet. I mean, that's pretty extreme. And he's not scared to say extreme things. So you got to kind of run it through that filter too.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I totally disagree with that. I think I really don't see the doctor very often. You know, I'm trying to just eat.
You're looking trim.
Well, I'm trying to eat whole foods and stuff as close to the source of where it came from, the ground or the tree, wherever, as I can, or the animal. And so far, so good. You know, do a little bit of exercise too, and
it's the magic.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's what a lot of people. I've got a lot of friends that are now in the health space, but they're actually looking at food, prescribing food.
Oh, gotcha.
Thinking differently about food, helping people get the right balance, because a lot of people don't have the right education around what to eat. They get it off social media.
Yeah.
From people that don't know what they're talking about, and then they kind of make calls on that, and it ends up sometimes very poorly for their health.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you go see a doc, the first thing, if you've got a few extra pounds, they'll tell you is lose some pounds and you'll be in better shape, you know, and stuff like that. It's not surprising stuff.
And outside of all things, eat a little less. Like, eat a little less. Like, if you want to lose some pounds, eat a little less and keep your activity up. Well, everybody, I mean, Paul is the man. He's been around the world. He's seen a lot of stuff, and I'm so appreciative for you coming here, sharing those insights with the Peterson Natural Farms audience, and it's good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
It's good to know you now.
And I'd love to visit the farm one day.
You bet. You're welcome. I tell everybody that comes on, you're welcome to come to our plants, see how we do things, because that's the point of it. Like, help people see how it works.
It's very easy to criticize when you've never seen something.
Yeah, sure. And it's still even a more valid criticism when you do see it. Like, if you see it and you're like, I don't like that. Okay, good. Now you really know. You weren't just saying it because your neighbor had told you.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, thank you.
You bet. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for giving me your time. It's not free. I mean, I really appreciate that. And everybody, go check out Paul Newnham. We're going to link to all the things he does. Do you have social media or anything that people can follow you?
Instagram, X now, I think, on Twitter.
Yep.
TikTok, the works. I'm on everything at
Good.
Paul Newnham.
We'll link them there.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.